Alright, it's been a long time coming, so I think it's finally time to discuss my top 20 favorite bands of all time. Just know that this is going to be very on the spot, and this is probably subject to change over time. Because let's be real, all opinions are going to change in the future, so who knows how outdated this one will be. Alright, now on to the actual list. At number 20, I have Fall Out Boy. This one is probably going to be the most mixed bag for me, if you want to call it that, because on one hand, I really like their rock implementations, especially on like Save Rock and Roll and From Under the Cork Tree. But on the other hand, I feel like they can be kind of poppy, to where I get kind of annoyed by them, or their songs are just okay. I mean, I know there's bad stuff like Mania and the Make America Psycho Again remix album, which why the hell did they do that? And don't get me started on the We Didn't Start the Fire bootleg cover, that sucks. Anyway, back to the positive stuff. Their rock stuff is cool. I love how they put on a show with it for the Hella Mega Tour, and that really is what got me into them. Plus, I got to play in my college band some of their songs for a halftime show, so that really boosted my likeness for them. My favorite member is going to probably be Pete Wentz. It was either him or Patrick Stump, so I flipped a coin. And when it comes to their music, my favorite is probably going to be From Under the Cork Tree. I listened to Save Rock and Roll Again with some friends, and it is not as great as I remember, so this is going to have to do. As far as the songs go, I really like my songs Know What You Did in the Dark. I know that's kind of a basic answer, but it's great for a reason. As for the other songs, I know the big one is This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race, and I wrote this song for Fall Out Boy, but all I got was this stupid song. Those are easily my top three. I see no reason to explain why, because so many people defend it. But, yeah. Overall, not too big on this band, but I still like it enough to where I think they're pretty fun. At number 19, I have Gorillaz. This one's also weird because I know Damon Albarn is behind all of the music making and such, but really people are here to pay attention to the digital band that you see on screen. So you got like Murdoch, Tootie, Noodle, and Russell. The whole gang is here. So yeah, this is who people want to go see. And before you ask, no, I do not care about Blur. As far as their sound goes, I mean, they already have natural instruments with like Russell on drums, Murdoch on bass, Noodle on guitar, and then Tootie sings, so you got that covered. But when it comes to how they utilize technology, it's even more of a mixed bag for me. Like, I really do not like Humans. That is my least favorite album by a band I love, and I think it's a scam for people to listen to. But other albums are pretty great. I am kind of still getting into the Now, but everybody loves Demon Days and Plastic Beach, so those are my go-tos when I listen to them. My favorite member is easily Murdoch Nichols. I mean, he has the funniest personality. I know he's a Satanist, but it's not real, so it's fine. His dynamic with all of the rest of the band is probably my favorite one, even though Tootie is the nice guy. And he has some of the cooler storylines if you go look into the lore, especially when it comes to Plastic Beach. And even going back to his origins, he's the reason that Tootie has black eyes. So I think that's kind of a cool tie-in to the whole shebang. If I had to pick a favorite album, it would definitely be Plastic Beach by comparison. I know Demon Days is a lot of people's favorite, and it's got Feel Good Inc. and Dirty Harry, which is my favorite song, but I think Plastic Beach was composed better, in my opinion. If not, I just think it's more interesting. As for my favorite songs, yeah, Dirty Harry, Feel Good Inc. is on there. But I'm surprised by how much more I like some of the songs on Plastic Beach than I did on Demon Days. Especially stuff like Stylo and Rhinestone Eyes, and probably Empire Ants. And don't get me started on how beautiful On Melancholy Hill is. It's just a beautiful ballad for people to listen to. So, go check out that album in particular. Overall, pretty cool band. Not a huge fan of how much they rely on technology, but go listen to them for the experience. You won't regret it. At number 18, I have Sabaton. When I first heard that there was a band that does metal music about military history, I was like, oh my god, sign me up. This is my favorite thing about history. So I took a listen to them, and it turns out they're a power metal band, which kind of helps with the patriotism behind some of the songs. Like, you could be from anywhere, but once you listen to like some of their music for like where they're set, like how Sparta is set in Sparta, or Stormtroopers is for Germany, or wherever you want to go look for their songs, you will feel like you want to fight for that country. Like, it is such an adrenaline rush to listen to. These guys are really cool. As far as my favorite members, Joachim Broden is probably going to stay as my favorite because I don't know the members too well. So, there you go. As far as my favorite album, I gotta give it to The War to End All Wars because it's pretty much a concept album about World War I other than Great War is, which is another previous album that they did on that one. I love their sound. Pretty heavy for military music, and in terms of a song that I would like the most, I mean, I'm definitely going to pick Stormtroopers because you're looking at the Star Wars man right here. So that one's pretty good, but obviously a lot of their other ones are pretty much great standouts for them. I mean, you got Great War, everybody knows The Last Stand, which is the whole For the Grace, for the Might of the Lord thing. And then there's more to look into if you're looking for more obscure things to hear about in terms of military history, like Winged Hussars, the Red Baron, Night Witches, Attack of the Dead Men, The Unkillable Soldier. Everything is great. It is the perfect band for all of you history nerds out there, myself included, and it's just going to be a blast to listen to once you get into it. I highly recommend this band to anybody who loves military history, like myself, so definitely go listen to it. At number 17, I have All Time Low. This one is more of like a scene or neon band in my opinion, and it really comes down to if you're really into that style. I think it's okay. Like, I'm not purely tied to it like how I'm not purely tied to any genre in particular, to be honest. But there are some things to really like about this band. I think I love how they use their guitar. It's more heavy than most bands, and I can appreciate that. So, there are some good things to come from it. A lot of their music is going to be very recognizable, like of course Dear Maria Count Me In, but a lot of their music can also go unrecognized. Like, there's some really deep cuts that I think are pretty cool that we'll go into on my list. As far as my favorite member, I mean, Alex Gaskarth is the easy answer. He's the frontman and all, so not much to it. But quick little fun fact, Alex Gaskarth was actually the one who teamed up with Mark Hoppus to produce Simple Creatures, the side project. So there's another Blink-182 side project for you to check out if you're interested. But as far as going into my favorite album, it really was a toss-up between Nothing Personal and Future Hearts. So I gotta give it to Future Hearts because Nothing Personal is kind of tonally inconsistent in my opinion. I don't know, you'll have to try it out for yourself. Like I said, a lot of their deep cuts are pretty good. My favorite song is Missing You off of Future Hearts, which is one of my favorite ballads of all time. And I really love the sound of it especially. And there's some other deep cuts that you need to listen to from their other albums, like Some Kind of Disaster, English Blood, American Heartache, Kids in the Dark. I don't know if that's a deep cut, but I'll count it anyway. All I'll say is that I highly recommend that you listen to every single one of the songs on my top 10 list. They're really good. Overall, the band is pretty fun. Again, it really depends on how much you like that neon sound of music, and I think you'll adjust to it pretty well if you enjoy it, so have fun. At number 16, I have Arctic Monkeys. This one is going to probably be the most divisive band on my list, because if you know about them, they changed their sound a lot halfway through their career, ever since AM. So, if you like some of their older stuff, go listen to like Whatever People Say That's What I'm Not, or Favorite Worst Nightmare, and if you like their newer stuff, I could really only recommend AM. Like Fall Out Boy, I'm more of a casual listener to them, but what really helps is that I like the style that they used for their older stuff, and something like AM. I love how they mix their rock elements with sort of like a jazz vibe, if you want to call it that. But I think it's done really well in the sense that it's catchy and way more re-listenable. So, do with that what you will. As far as my favorite member, I mean, again, this was an easy pick for the frontman, Alex Turner. He's got a very recognizable voice, and I think it's really creative for how he utilizes it for some of the songs. Granted, he can sing a little bit offbeat and kind of slow to where it's like, yeah, it's hard to follow. But if you can look past it, then it should be a good time. My pick for my favorite album is going to be kind of a basic take and kind of controversial depending on who you ask, but I cannot help but love AM, and I will still defend it with whoever I talk to. It's just got a really good sound that I can get behind with how, again, they mix the jazz vibes and the rock vibes to where I think it's a really good mix. My past experience has led me to love Do I Wanna Know, which again is another cliche pick, but over time I have grown to love Fireside more than anything, and even a lot more than the other songs on AM. I mean, there's other stuff from other albums, like I love I Bet You'd Look Good on the Dance Floor, and Fluorescent Adolescent is pretty fun too, as well as Bryan Storm. Maybe if I try to get into more of their stuff, then I'll probably have a more intricate take on what my favorite things are about this band, but it's really hard to because a lot of their later stuff is a disappointment, especially The Car. I did not care for that album. I suggest you go in blind so that you can really get that experience of like how they naturally change their sound from one era to the other, and then it's ultimately going to be a pick and choose type of thing where you hear what you like and then that's what you like. There's really not much to say about it. So go check them out, do with that what you will. At number 15, I have Queen. Let's just get this out of the way. This is probably the greatest band of all time. Now, I know popularity doesn't mean the best, but in terms of quality overall, in comparison to the others on this list, this is objectively the best band on here. I'm going to be completely honest about that. This is the best band. Now, why are they number 15? Well, it's purely out of preference, so there's that. Obviously, this band has been incredibly influential on the minds of many, young and old, and there's a reason that Green Day plays Bohemian Rhapsody before the start of their concerts. It is such an iconic song for how long it is, and for how it tried to reinvent the rock genre for the new sounds they introduced, and it just turns out to be one of the greatest songs of all time. This band has truly done it all. You have other songs that they're known for, like Another One Bites the Dust or We Will Rock You, but you can't help but love these guys. Like, come on. Best member is easily Freddie Mercury. He is like the greatest singer of all time. There's no denying that. He needs no introduction. He is well beloved by many. So, there you go. Favorite album is probably going to have to be A Night at the Opera, since it's the only one I thoroughly listened through. Everything else I've listened to by them is purely based off of greatest hits, but those greatest hits alone will rank them higher than most bands when it comes to people listening to their favorite bands. Like, it's Queen. You can't help but love them, as I said. Like Crazy Little Thing Called Love, Another One Bites the Dust, Bo Rap, Radio Gaga, Don't Stop Me Now, We Will Rock You, Love of My Life. I could go on. I don't want to stay here for too long because everybody has praised this band to high heavens, so go listen to them. You can't miss out on them. Such a phenomenal band, guys. Go listen to them. At number 14, I have Metallica. Just like how Queen is objectively the greatest rock band of all time, Metallica is the greatest metal band of all time. I mean, for crying out loud, these guys have not just a perfect album, but a perfect 5-album streak from Kill 'Em All the way to And Justice for All. You know you have achieved greatness when your first 5 albums in a row have been recognized as some of the greatest metal albums of all time. And then going off of the best member, I think James Hetfield is the greatest frontman in all of metal. His antics, his guitar playing, everything, even his stage presence. Everybody loves him, including me. Even with somebody whose favorite metal band is not Metallica, you cannot deny that James Hetfield is the Freddie Mercury of the metal community. When people pick a favorite Metallica album, it's usually between Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets. But I'm Team Master of Puppets. I think that is the perfect and the greatest metal song of all time. Even though it's not my favorite metal song, probably. You just can't help it. Once you listen to it, you're gonna get your adrenaline going, and it's just so freaking awesome. I can't stop loving it. Then you have their other popular songs like One, Enter Sandman, From Whom the Bell Tolls, and of course Fuel, but they're popular for a reason. Again, they pump you full of adrenaline, and then once you start listening to it, you just want to drive down the road like 90 miles an hour. It is the best experience to listen to those albums and those songs if you want to become an immediate Metallica fan, or if you just want to go into metal in general and become an eventual metalhead, kind of like I did. So, this is the band to do it. These are not the godfathers of metal, because that would be Black Sabbath, but these guys are the current kings of metal. Go listen to them if you want to get into metal, or if you want to listen to them in general. At number 13, I have Boxcar Racer. This one's tricky because if you know the history about the band, it was pretty much a one-and-done album band. They only did a self-titled album in 2002, and that was pretty much it. So if you want to go look for their stuff, that's the only thing you can go off of, which makes saying that this band is one of my favorites kind of odd, because you only have one album to go off of. But at the same time, if that album is really good in comparison to the other stuff that you listen to, well then yeah, it deserves to be on a higher spot on your list, so that's why it's here. The standout member is going to, of course, be Tom DeLonge, who many fans will know from Blink-182, and he wanted to do this album because he wanted to explore darker subject matter on some of his songs in comparison to Blink. So that's why this album was made, kind of. It's pretty silly to say, but of course the best album is going to be their self-titled album. It's the only one you could go off of. So then you gotta look into all of the songs that are available on there. My favorite is easily going to be There Is, which I am so happy I got to hear live during the One More Time tour. But there's other great ones as well, like Letters to God, and I, and even Elevator, which, funny enough, or not really funny, is a song about 9/11. Yeah, it got pretty dark real quick towards the end of that album. All I can say is that if you want to listen to a Blink-182 side project, this might be the best one to go off of. It's one album, so it's an easy one and done, and then just go through all of the songs and then you pick which one is your favorite. I might have bias towards There Is, not only because it's really good, but also because I saw it live, as I said. You can't really do more than that, but that's kind of a good thing because this is really the side project to pay attention to, as I say. So go listen to it. At number 12, I have Linkin Park. This is often regarded as probably the best nu metal band of all time, even more so than bands like Slipknot or Limp Bizkit, or even Korn for that matter. What makes them really special is how emotional they are, in the sense that they bring out their feelings onto the audience, and you can't help but be engaged with their music. It's such a beautiful thing to watch unfold, especially in albums like Hybrid Theory or Meteora, or even albums like 1,000 Suns and Minutes to Midnight, which are still very good, in my opinion. Now obviously the big elephant in the room in terms of people getting into the band was that they were a major component as to why people love the Michael Bay Transformers movies. But in my opinion, those movies actually helped people improve their liking of the band in some ways. Like, this was the movie series that got me into Linkin Park, and now that I'm looking into Linkin Park, I really like them. It should go without saying, but even though there is competition with Mike Shinoda, my favorite member is going to be Chester Bennington. He really brings that emotion, as I mentioned, to the band itself, and he projects it out onto the audience to where we feel what he feels. And it's unfortunate because now he's no longer with us, and it's really sad. And that's why I can't listen to anything else like From Zero. Because to me, if you don't have Chester with Linkin Park, that emotional resonance doesn't hit the same to me. So it's really hard to be a fan continuing forward now that he's not with us. As far as my favorite album, it's really between Hybrid Theory and Meteora as it is for most people. But I gotta plant my flag somewhere, and so I think I can finally comfortably settle in with Hybrid Theory. It's the one that started it all, and it has some of the most engaging songs in comparison to the others, more so than probably Minutes to Midnight, but that's not to say that there are other good ones on Meteora. Obviously there's going to be your opinion to take into account, so it's really going to be a flip-flop between Hybrid Theory and Meteora, as I mentioned. For my favorite songs, the easiest one to pick is New Divide, mainly because of Transformers, and the same could be said about Iridescent. As for the other songs that aren't featured on Transformers, a lot of them are just with that emotional resonance as I mentioned earlier. That's mainly the driving factor of Linkin Park, and it's really engaging when they do it. And that sticks with you, especially when you hear Chester's voice projecting out to you, like he's calling to you to feel the same that he does. Overall, this band is great. It's a nu metal band that will stick with the hearts of many, and I can't emphasize enough how much they stick with you once you start listening to them, even outside of Transformers. Just go listen to them on your own, and you will feel that emotional journey follow you. At number 11 I have Oingo Boingo. This one is more of like a funny band, not in the sense of like Blink-182's comedy, but in the sense that they're a cool kind of party band that you can dance around to. For those who don't know, this was Danny Elfman's big band before he went and did his own thing when making music for Tim Burton movies. It's fun to watch him dance around on stage and have the time of his life with the band he started, and it really goes to show how much of a fun guy he is. I personally think that it's a great band to listen to if you're just looking for something fun. My favorite member is easily the most recognizable one, that being of course Mr. Danny Elfman. He is one of my favorite movie composers of all time, but to see him back in this band, I really like him. He does a great job of capturing that fun feeling, and he really allows himself to go wild with the vocals when the music allows him to. My favorite album is going to be their most iconic one, that being Dead Man's Party. It's really the album I only pay attention to, kind of like Queen with A Night at the Opera, but for a good reason. It is quite literally the same vibe as the title implies, and you get that same vibe with the album cover, as it's basically like a happy-go-lucky crazy version of a Dia de los Muertos celebration. That being said, most of my favorite songs are going to come directly off of that album. The only one on my top 10 list that's not from it is my number 1, We Close Our Eyes. Other than that one, Dead Man's Party is an absolute masterpiece that many people need to look into. I already got one person to listen to it, and she really liked it. All of the songs are back-to-back bangers, and it ultimately comes down to preference as to which one you like more. My family has endless love for Just Another Day, but I pay attention to the other ones as well, and I really become kind of nuanced in which ones I like from time to time. It's also cool that they wrote the theme song to this really old TV show called Weird Science, so that's another bonus. That's just how good this album is. So, if anything, if you want to check out all of Oingo Boingo, by all means go for it, but if there's one essential album you need to listen to, it is Dead Man's Party. So go do that right now in your spare time. You know what that chant means. At number 10 I have the Ramones. This is one of my favorite bands growing up with my family. My dad and his brothers are all fans of the Ramones, and they were the ones who brought me up with this band, and I can't thank them enough. This is easily one of the most fun times I have ever had listening to a band, and I was never disappointed from day one. I remember my first song ever hearing by these guys was Beat on the Brat, and it took me a while to figure out, but if you think of brat in the terms of being short for bratwurst, then you realize it's literally a hilarious song about beating up hot dogs with baseball bats. Not to mention that they have possibly written the greatest punk song in the entire universe. There is a reason why Blitzkrieg Bop is known as the punk national anthem, and I love it. When we're looking at our favorite members, mine tends to be Dee Dee Ramone because he just brings the most energy to them. You see him go crazy on stage even though he's only playing bass, but it's that energy that he brings to the band that really makes you want to jump up and dance, man. It is so much fun. In terms of my favorite album, I cannot help but pick the self-titled album. It is just simply iconic for all the right reasons, man. When I'm looking at my top 10 songs, I mean, other than Blitzkrieg Bop being number 1, you gotta look at the rest of their catalog because holy cow, they are so much fun to listen to. I mean, California Sun is always a banger to me, and I can't help but be happy when it comes on. Rockaway Beach is of course great. I Wanna Be Sedated is another certified classic, and you really just gotta keep looking into their music no matter where you go. It will always be the most fun time you will have with a punk band. These guys bring joy to me every single time I listen to them, and they will absolutely bring joy to you, so go listen to them and have the time of your life, man. At number 9, I have My Chemical Romance. It's no surprise that I think these guys are the absolute certified kings of all emo music. They have been a long-standing band ever since the early 2000s, and it's no surprise to see kids growing up with these guys as their musical icons. 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge and The Black Parade have stood the test of time for over a decade, and seeing it hold up well just brings me happiness every single time I listen to them. My favorite member is probably going to have to be Frank Iero because he's the guitar guy that many people look towards. I know Ray is the one who does all of the guitar riffs that are so iconic during the bridges of songs, but it's really Frank who really brings that stage presence, much like Dee Dee Ramone. For those who figured it out, my favorite album is of course going to be The Black Parade. It is my favorite album of all time, and I think the storytelling behind this rock opera is absolutely masterful. You have this storyline about a cancer patient who only has 2 weeks to live, and then once he dies, he explores this afterlife that really takes the form of this Black Parade, and it's very artful in some ways. Going off of individual songs, I mean, of course, Welcome to the Black Parade is one of my favorite songs, and in fact, it is my number 1. But you also have really good back-to-back song choices like Mama, Teenagers, I'm Not Okay. Hell, for I'm Not Okay, I would even rewind the song just at the intro because I love that guitar riff so much. It's just incredible. Looking back on the band now, it's just something I would frequently go back to when I feel like I need them. And when they're right there for me, it's perfection. The Black Parade is so iconic, as well as its title track, to the point where many call it the Bohemian Rhapsody of the next generation. And I might like it more than Bohemian Rhapsody if I'm being honest. With all of that said and taken into consideration, this is the best emo band of all time, and you absolutely need to listen to them, even if it's just for the storytelling of the Black Parade, which many people have done videos on it, I'm sure. But you need to experience it for yourself just to learn how great it is. Then you can dive into the rest of the band, and while I prefer 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge as the next album you should check out, you could pretty much go anywhere with them and you'd probably have a good time. Just go listen to these guys, please. The Black Parade is the greatest album I have ever heard, and you need to listen to it too. Oh, and watch out for Teenagers. They scare Gerard. At number 8, I have Angels and Airwaves. When I first heard that Tom DeLonge did another side project aside from Boxcar Racer, I was intrigued to see just what this band was going to be like. I was only just going to try them out just for the experience of, hey, this looks interesting, I want to see what this sounds like. If I like it, and if I don't, I don't. And I was pleasantly surprised with how much I actually enjoyed this band. You could clearly tell this is what Tom wanted to do going off of the Neighborhoods album by Blink-182. He wanted to implement this style of sound into Blink. And honestly, I think that is a pretty interesting idea, depending on how well it's executed, but it's still interesting nonetheless. I kind of think this is what Blink should have gone for instead of going down the Matt Skiba route when he replaced Tom and joined the band while Tom was off doing this band. As you can tell by the music, this was clearly the height of Tom's Alien obsession. You could hear it in the synths, in the reverb, and everything. Even though the band was founded in 2006, going off of 2015 when the band really kick-started their hype, that was when Tom DeLonge founded To The Stars Academy of Arts and Science, and that hype carried through the band with the Alien obsession as mentioned earlier. In some ways, it to me sounds like a Depeche Mode Jr., but with that Alien twist to it. And what Tom is able to do with that sound is really freaking interesting. I want to hear more of this going forward. I know Lifeforms was kind of a dud in my opinion, but going back to back with like We Don't Need a Whisper, I Empire, Dreamwalker, the Love album, I enjoyed listening to all of those, and I don't regret having them available to listen to. Just like with Boxcar Racer, the most recognizable and the best member is of course going to be Mr. Tom DeLonge, the Alien Boy, the guy who kickstarted this whole obsession to begin with. My thoughts on him are pretty much the same as Boxcar Racer, just added to a new height since he did more music with this band. As far as my favorite album goes, you really gotta pick and choose like you would with Arctic Monkeys, so I probably would pick I Empire. It has the more iconic songs all together in one album, whereas my favorite songs are pretty much just spread out among different albums. I mean, my second favorite song is from the Weakest album, to be honest. I just think I Empire has the best songs collected together in one album, especially since I used two of those songs for my first mix I ever posted here on YouTube, those two songs being Star of Bethlehem and True Love. I've just been giving a lot of love to Soul Survivor 2012 and Time Bomb, but their most iconic song of all is of course The Adventure, which was featured at the end of my showing of the One More Time tour. So just like with Arctic Monkeys, go in blind for this band. It's better if you experience this without any expectations, that way it's not like better or lamer than Blink-182. So go in blind and have fun with this band. It's really good, and it gets overlooked a lot. At number 7 I have Ice Nine Kills. I know, surprising they're not in the 9th spot, as their name would imply. Just like with Sabaton and their songs about military history, when I heard that there was a metal band that made songs about horror movies, I was even more interested than I was with Sabaton. The first impression of the band that I got came from Welcome to Horrorwood, the title track of the second album, and Hip to Be Squared, which is based off of American Psycho. And honestly, it was really cool hearing it for the first time to see how they played around with the references to horror movies. If you are a big fan of the horror genre, and you go in and listen to this band, you will catch all sorts of references because chances are they made a song about your favorite horror movie within the era of the Silver Scream duology. For example, my favorite horror movie of all time is Halloween, and I was able to pick up on every single detail that they were able to reference in that song, and it's pretty cool. Interestingly enough, they actually started as a ska band, and I went to listen back at their first albums that they did, at least their first 2 or 3, and they're not bad, but I can greatly appreciate how they re-recorded those albums since they did sound a little bit whiny at first. Not like in the funny Tom DeLonge way. When picking my favorite member, I easily gotta go with Spencer Charnas, the frontman. He's the one who's behind the mind of all of the horror movie shenanigans, and he's the die-hard horror fan at least compared to the rest of the group. And I would honestly really like to chat with him about how he implements those aspects of horror movies into his music, because he seems like a really fun guy to be around, and his music is always entertaining. When picking a favorite album, it's really either going to be part 1 or 2 of The Silver Scream, since this is what they're currently most known for and it's their best work by far, but I gotta go with part 2 because it's infinitely more entertaining and they play around with those ideas more. My favorite song is one of my biggest dreams come true because I knew they would be the perfect band to make a song based on the Terrifier movies, and they did it with a work of art. And it is one of my top 10 songs as of right now. So thank you so much, Ice Nine Kills, for that very special Christmas gift, I guess, if not a Halloween gift. Your favorite songs will ultimately depend on which one you find either more entertaining or which ones are based off of your favorite horror movies. To me, it's more off of the entertainment factor, since your favorite movie shouldn't affect your favorite song. But seeing as how the band plays around with that as the nature of their music, you kinda gotta put 2 and 2 together, so thankfully Stabbing in the Dark made it at number 8, which is based off of Halloween. The other songs are actually really cool, and for the longest time, I thought Meet and Greet was the song that does the best job at using its horror movie icons as the basis of the song, until then a work of art came around, in which it blew everything out of the water. I can't stop geeking out about this band. At least 3 other friends I've known love this band and had a ton of fun with it, so I really hope you check it out and have a ton of fun with them as well. Go do it. At number 6 I have Slipknot. This was my first proper introduction into the metal genre, and I'm very happy with how it did for me. This has grown to become my favorite metal band of all time, and I'm pretty sure it'll be easy to see why for many people, including myself. This band has really been an incredible journey for me when getting into metal, and I have had a ton of fun learning about the whole backstory behind them, how they do their music, and their stage antics, especially their stage antics, even in regards to guys like Tortilla Man with how hilarious he is. Unlike Metallica, this was really the kickstart to metal that I've been looking for, especially with their sound for how intense they seem to be. Now that clearly applies to not only their music but also their masks and their appearance, but in reality it's all really just for shock value, and then once you get into the band you can't help but vibe with them, especially with how they look. It seems pretty funny at first, but then once you start getting into it and you feel what they're going for, you can't help but join in and have fun. It's pretty good. Now, as much as I love members like Corey Taylor or Sid Wilson, I probably would have to say that my favorite member is Mick Thompson. He's the most scary and intimidating dude of them all, especially at first, and he's probably my favorite especially with how he does the guitar riffs, and how he complements Jim Root in how he does the guitar riffs as well. Also, he is the coolest looking whenever he headbangs on stage. I remember he got stabbed in the neck at one point and couldn't do it for a while, but now he's all fine and dandy. The competition for favorite album is really close between the self-titled album and the Iowa album, as it is for many fans as well. Me personally, I'm going to have to pick the Iowa album because I think it's their best sounding ever since they improved upon the original album. Unfortunately, there's a dark history behind the making of this album and it's really sad, but they managed to pull through and deliver such an awesome banger into our ears. That album also brings a lot of their best songs onto the table with like Disaster Piece, People Equal Shit, and I know that there's some others that get a lot of love like Left Behind. But just like with other bands like Angels and Airwaves, their best works are really spread out between albums, which I can really appreciate. My favorite song is actually not from an album, but it's a single, and that's All Out Life. And another song that me and a coworker have absolutely been loving to death was Nero Forte from probably their most underappreciated album that I think deserves more love, which is We Are Not Your Kind. That and Volume 3 The Subliminal Verses I think are the best albums ever since their first two. So those are probably the ones you should pay attention to the most. Overall, if Metallica didn't bring you into metal, this band will bring you into metal. It is incredible with their sound, and it really gives you that punch of energy that you need, as well as adrenaline, in order to get you into the band, and it's freaking awesome. So go listen to them if you want to have like the most bang for your buck time with any metal band that isn't Metallica. Top 5, baby! At number 5 I have Green Day. This has been one of my favorite bands ever since I got into them in high school, and now that I've explored more of them over the next few years that followed, they have become one of the best bands I have probably ever listened to, more than I thought they would be in high school. I mean, these guys are responsible for 2 of my favorite tours I've ever been to, and I enjoyed them every single time I got to hear them. Going into their albums, I mean, what else needs to be said? They really popped off with Dookie, and then ever since they have been a consistently good force to be reckoned with, apart from Father of All. They have been one of my biggest influences when growing up, especially after high school, and it really brings me joy to see others really enjoy this band. My favorite member has gotta be Tré Cool. He is by far the funniest part of this entire band and its entire history. He's responsible for 2 really hilarious joke songs, and his drumming is something to be amazed. I want to see him do a 3-way drum battle between Travis Barker, Josh Dun, and himself. Admittedly, Billy Joe came kind of close to be picked over Trey in terms of who is my favorite. That kind of went down a little bit because sometimes I think Billy is okay. He can be really fun, but I sometimes think he can be a bit of a douche, kind of like Morrissey is with the Smiths. And Trey often gets overlooked since he's in the back during the whole show and he doesn't really talk, other than when he performs all by himself. So it's really cool to see him get more recognition for how funny he is. Everybody who knows me knows that my favorite album is of course American Idiot. It is just such an undisputed masterpiece that could possibly rival The Black Parade in terms of being a rock opera for the story it tells, even though I think The Black Parade tells the story a little bit better. I know there's the political themes behind American Idiot, but that really only applies to 2 of the songs, the title track and Holiday, which are fairly mundane, I would say, in terms of how they go about it, although Holiday can be a little bit intense. The story is more about a guy who doesn't really enjoy being in his neighborhood and he tries to find a new life, but he gets so caught up in the acts of violence that he struggles to find the essence of love again. So that's a really cool story to check out. Most of my songs that I really think are my favorites are of course going to be from American Idiot, but there's a lot of good ones that you can find in other albums like Nice Guys Finish Last, Scattered, and Good Riddance from Nimrod. AI, Nimrod, and Dookie are often regarded as their 3 best albums, which understandably so. But I also think 21st Century Breakdown and Insomniac and even Revolution Radio need to get more attention. This band is just really good to check out for those of you who want to get into the punk scene or even the pop punk scene. So just have at it and just explore those albums that I mentioned before, and then just go about it and explore every single inch of this band just so you could get an understanding of what they're like. It's really a fun experience to go into, and trust me, you're gonna like it. At number 4 I have 21 Pilots. This one was pretty interesting to me because I've heard of this band's popularity due to Heathens and Suicide Squad and Stressed Out from Blurryface. Back when those were the craze, I didn't know too much about them, but then I started looking into them and their other works, and this band instantly grew on me. It was probably the easiest growing process when getting into a band that I've ever had. Or maybe the second best, depending on how much I compare it to my number 1. In terms of getting me through high school, in a similar way to Green Day, this is the band that really got me into high school and got me out of there in time with a healthy enough mind. It really goes to show how this band's themes really catch on to you, and they really help understand the human condition and emotion that is built up inside of us. They really bring that expression out, and they're not afraid to bring those themes out in their music, especially with the storyline that they bring out through the concept of each of their 4 albums that they previously released. If you want to learn more about this story, you're going to have to talk to me on another day, or you can check out the playlist that I set for the entire Dima saga if you're interested. For my favorite member, you really only have to pick between 2 people, and I easily got to pick Josh Dun. He is my favorite drummer of all time right now, and to see him come this far with this band blowing up, it makes me really happy. This whole band makes you really happy, honestly. It's such a joy to watch this band unfold into something larger than life. If it wasn't obvious to those who know this band, my favorite album has got to be Trench. It introduced me to my favorite song in all of music, that being My Blood. And the story behind the music in the album and the song itself is just perfect. This whole album and the songs on the right set the tone perfectly for which music you should listen to when looking into the band. And it's really a joy in the long run. It's probably the most experimental band I've ever heard, so I won't really spoil anything about the songs that are listed in my top 10, and I gotta highly encourage you to listen to this music on your own. It made me happier than it has before, and I am so glad to see people giving it recognition. At number 3, I have Depeche Mode. This is yet another band that I grew up listening to along with my family, again, on my dad's side, with him and my 3 uncles. This has been a childhood favorite of mine, and has consistently been my 3rd favorite band for the longest time. This is the only other band besides Green Day that I was able to see twice live, and thankfully I got to see them before Andy Fletcher passed away, which rest in peace. As far as my family goes, I was mainly introduced to them through both Violator and Black Celebration. Both of them are often regarded as like the favorite albums of my family. And usually one or the other would show up on somebody's top 10 or top 5 lists, which, sure enough, one of them would be on my number 1 spot. These guys do the same thing that Angels and Airwaves does, where they use some natural sounding instruments, but they heavily base it around the use of synths. And I think it's really cool how they were able to use it so frequently, but so uniquely, so that no song or album sounds exactly the same, which should be the goal for any technologically based band. So I really appreciate that they did this here. My favorite member has got to be Dave Gahan, the frontman of the entire band. Usually the people who stand out are him, Martin Gore, who is his right-hand man, and usually the guy you notice most in the background, Andy Fletcher, again, rest in peace. He dances very weird on stage for some reason, but usually his vocals stand out very well. It's one of the biggest selling points of the band that would complement the use of the synthesizers, so it's pretty good how he's able to stand out and bring that natural tone to a technologically based band, which again, I really appreciate. As I mentioned before, my favorite album has got to be easily Violator. I know the title sounds provocative, but trust me, it doesn't go to that level. And this album actually achieves something I never heard a band do before. This is the only album that I have seen where 3 songs are tied for my favorite song by a band. That is ridiculous and unheard of for me. Ultimately, I had to rank them anyway, and usually I settle on Policy of Truth being my favorite song, followed by Enjoy the Silence and Personal Jesus, which are still absolute bangers. I'm so happy I got to hear Just Can't Get Enough the second time I saw them, because even though it's really popular, it is easily one of my favorites as well. And just because something is popular doesn't mean it's bad, and this song is the prime example of it. As far as I know, their best albums to check out are obviously this one, and then I highly recommend Music for the Masses, Songs of Faith and Devotion, and Black Celebration. Maybe Construction Time again if you want to dig into their older stuff a lot more. But that's the thing, the band just is good all around. Like, you could pick a different era of the band and still have a great time with it. So I highly recommend you go ahead and pick and choose where you want to start, but I personally recommend you start with Violator and then go from there, because it has the most recognizable songs, and usually if you like those, that'll be a good gateway into the band itself. So go ahead, try it out, and hopefully you have a pretty good time with it. I did, and I hope you do. And number 2, I have The Killers. This is the last band on this list that my family grew up with on my dad's side. Again, with my dad and my uncles. This band has had a special place in my heart for a while, and it really helps that my dad knew to pick and choose which songs in particular for me to listen to first. Some of them might be kind of spread out between their first 3 albums that they did, but usually they come from Hot Fuss and Sam's Town. Those are often regarded as their best albums by far, and I can't blame people for thinking so. Obviously you have their song Mr. Brightside, which is the national anthem of all national anthems, and you just can't help but dance when you get into it. And some football stadiums even play this song for the crowd to sing to. That's not to say that's the only good song they've ever written, because you could totally go back and listen to almost anything they have, and you'll eventually find something. Songs like All These Things That I've Done, Spaceman, Dustland Fairy Tale, Caution, even something like Ruby Don't Take Your Love to Town, which sounds like a Johnny Cash song, is still very good when it comes to their discography. I even gave Battleborn another chance recently, since I thought it was the weakest album for the longest time, and I enjoy it now that I listen to it again. My favorite member has definitely got to be the frontman Brandon Flowers, as most frontmen are my favorite in bands, but like, this one is kind of special to me. For a while, I thought he could potentially be the next Freddie Mercury of this generation, based on his antics, his crowd control, his style. His wardrobe even is pretty flashy, although Freddie didn't wear too much glamour. I don't know, maybe that was a personal thought, but we'll see how well he does over time to see if he holds up to that title. I don't really think it'll happen, because that was a heat of the moment thought that I had at the time, but I still think he's really damn good. If I had to pick a favorite album, I'm usually going to defer back to the original album that started it all, which is Hot Fuss. This album is kind of cool because if you look into the lyrics of every song and try to piece them together, it kind of tells a secret story about a murder mystery, but it's mainly supposed to be taken into the context from the killer's perspective. Although it does shift points of view from different characters, but mainly the bad guy that we follow, aka Mr. Brightside, is the main character of this murder story. So it's cool if you could figure that out if you piece together the songs and rearrange them into a proper order, which I might do a video on in the future. As for my top 10 songs, all of these should be familiar to at least some of you, if not half of you. I mean, All These Things That I've Done, this song has dethroned Mr. Brightside after I saw them live in 2022, and the crowd chant was incredible. That alone raised the bar so high for me to where I had to put that song at number 1. You obviously have others like Somebody Told Me, Spaceman, other songs that I've listened to before, and all the ones that I listen to you personally right now, but you just gotta go check them out for yourself. It is one of the peak bands of glamorous indie rock and roll. Like, I think it's a good time to have if you just want to look for a band that you want to get into. So if you're going to do it with any band, try this one. See if you like it. Alright, time for the number 1 spot. And some of you could probably already guess which band it's going to be. So here we go.
Hey Mom, there's something in the back room.
In the most obvious number 1 spot, we have Blink-182. That opening line from Aliens Exist has been a consistent catchphrase for my musical side for the last 4 or 5 years, and it's very easy to see why. This band is single-handedly the biggest saving grace I have ever experienced in the history of my musical discovery journey. I first got interested in looking into this band when I saw some cool fan art by KLHR on Facebook, who is one of my favorite graphic designers I have ever seen on the internet. And he did some pretty cool artwork for the self-titled album. So when I first looked into the band, I went out of my way to make sure I checked out what is deemed by me the big three of the band's discography, which is Enema of the State, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and Blink-182, the self-titled album. And the next thing I knew, oh my god, how does a band have any right to be this cool? This is the exact specific type of rock sound I have been looking for my entire life. And to see it finally in front of me and hear it for my first time, I was so happy and so excited to finally be able to listen to these guys and see what all of the hype is about. Enema of the State, Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, and the self-titled album are still going to be the big three to me, and I thank them forever for getting me into this band and making me insanely happier than I was before when listening to music. And then finally living the dream to see them live at the One More Time tour is just the cherry on top of the poop and fart joke cake that this band always brings with their stage banter, which is absolutely hilarious. When getting into the band, I recognized immediately, based on his voice alone, that my favorite member was going to be, of course, Thomas Matthew DeLonge. That's not to discount Mark or Travis either, because they're good, but when you take a look at everybody and compare them, Tom is easily the heart and soul of the entire band, who brings that humor, that livelihood, and that energy onto the listener. And then don't forget about how he pronounces head in the song I Miss You. Even other than the musical aspect of him, this guy is probably the most relatable and down-to-earth artist I have ever come across. Specifically just Tom. He's a SoCal student who went to 2 different high schools because he got kicked out of one of them for drinking at a basketball game. We also share the same favorite baseball team, which is the San Diego Padres, and you can even see him sometimes go to games at Petco Park. And I even got to see him throw the first pitch at one of the playoff games. And you cannot talk about Tom without talking about his crazy alien obsession. If there's one conspiracy theory I would 100% be on board with, is figuring out about the existence of extraterrestrial life in outer space, aka aliens. That's a big reason why he founded To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, which is a pretty cool organization if you want to follow it, in which, yeah, as of the congressional hearings that we heard about a year ago or so, there's pretty much confirmation that there is extraterrestrial life out there, and we just need to find it. And that alien obsession comes into play with one of my favorite songs of all time, as you're about to see. My favorite album from Blink? It's really hard to pick one because they're all really great, but ultimately, after listening for the longest time, I have come to settle that the best of the big three is the unskippable masterpiece that is Enema of the State. This to me is the absolute most perfect no-skip album. Every single song hits, every single song gets you dancing, and every single song is a joy to play during a car ride or hear during a concert or whatever you want to do with it. This album is perfect in concept. Obviously, it's not the objectively greatest music you will ever hear, but it is perfect purely for the fun times that it brings. Here we have an actual tie between 2 songs that I simply cannot pick which one is better. It's between Aliens Exist and Ghosts on the Dance Floor. On one hand, you have the Tom DeLonge theme song that I have been endlessly praising with its opening line. And on the other hand, you have a really good romance ballad that turns into an actual rock song. And it's just perfection for how it progresses throughout the song. And it has one of my favorite choruses of all time, if not my absolute favorite. Going Away to College has also been promoted up on my list to being my 3rd favorite. if you can distinct Aliens Exist and Ghost from each other. But technically it would be my second favorite in this instance. I just absolutely love every single song that I have listed on my top 10. From I Miss You, which has the Yed meme, to Wendy Clear, which I think is the most underrated Blink song, to even Dumpweed, which is my concert buddy's favorite song. Overall, this is absolutely my favorite band, and I highly recommend if you check out anything, you check out the big three. Again, that's Enema, Takeoff, and Self-Titled. And then you can go anywhere from there as well, preferably the projects that Tom DeLonge worked on. Especially Neighborhoods. That one is one of the most underrated albums I have ever heard in my life. And that's not just because Ghost on the Dance Floor is the first track of the album. I don't know what else to say. This is my favorite band of all time. Everybody needs to go listen to it just for the fun of it, even the joke songs. I cannot stress enough how much fun I've had with this band, and I love it to death. Go listen to Blink right now if you haven't already. It will change your life forever. I am certain of it. So there you have it. Those are my top 20 bands of all time, and I am very happy with the video I put out, and I'm happy that it's here. Definitely listen to all of these bands just so you can get an idea of what I like, or to figure out what you like. And also go check out my mix Aliens on the Dance Floor, which is a combination of my two favorite Blink songs. And I don't know, like, subscribe, whatever, the whole shebang. You already get the point. Anyway, have a good night, everybody.